Good morning, everybody. I am Lauren Cohen, and I am here today with my special guest, Ed Zia, all the way from Australia. And I am learning all about all the different places in Australia. There are many of them. There's the South Shore and there's the North part. And I mean, I don't really know very much about Australia. The only thing I knew about prior to Amir Michelle joining my team really was Sydney and Melbourne, and that's it. And some clients that have come from different places, but not really the extent that I'm learning about these places now. So anyway, I am Lauren Cohen, international legal and real estate expert, and the host of this podcast, Investing Across Borders. I help people navigate a path to invest, live, work, and play across borders. And I would invite you to subscribe to this podcast on Apple, wherever you're listening to it, Google, however works for you. And if you would be so kind as to give us 5 stars, because those 5 stars help us to get even better guests on the podcast. But I don't think the guests get much better than this lovely man, Ed Zia. I feel like I've known you, Ed, literally for years. And it's probably because of that Commonwealth connection, Australia, Canada. It's just a natural affinity. So please say hello and introduce yourself.
Oh, it's a pleasure, Lauren. Also, too, I think you're just an exceptional human being. So how can I not get to know someone like you, Lauren?
Thank you. Thank you.
No, seriously, thank you. Honored to be here. So, yes, I'm an international master coach, and I tend to focus on helping people become big business influencers. So I spend a lot of my life on LinkedIn, running events, talking to people, running Zooms, and pretty much just helping people globally really take off and win big in their own unique way.
And your special focus is my favorite social media platform, LinkedIn. And why did you choose LinkedIn? Pardon me?
Well, I think in a way LinkedIn chose me, I think is the way to do it, because I found LinkedIn last of all. I spent a bit of time on Facebook and Instagram, found it a waste of time, but one of my friends said I should get into LinkedIn, and I'm not exaggerating. I achieved more in terms of follower growth and closed business on LinkedIn in 3 months than I did in 3 years of Facebook. So, to me, pretty much within a month of using LinkedIn, I went from skeptic to zealot very quickly.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, the difference, I actually have 2 paid consults today from people that I connected with on LinkedIn. Now, that whether they turn into clients or not, I don't know, but it's definitely worth your time to invest in LinkedIn. It's been my best platform. And I think the difference is when you're doing B2C, or maybe you're in retail or something like that, and you want to get to the masses, you might use Facebook or Instagram or both or all of the above, or Twitter. I'm not a big Twitter fan. I love Clubhouse. I know you do too. I think that Clubhouse is an awesome forum. That's actually how I met Amir. I'm not sure if you knew that, but Amir and I connected on Clubhouse. So, but the reality is LinkedIn, when you're doing B2B, and pretty much all of my business is B2B in some way, even though my clients may not be in business in the US yet, but it's when you're doing B2B and you want to connect at a higher level, LinkedIn is definitely the place to be. There's no question. So Ed, tell us, what brought you to 87,000 followers, is it now?
I'm almost 90,000 followers,
My
almost
God.
90,000. And my business page is 140,000 plus followers. So I'm really happy. So been really taking off exponential lately. So it's been incredible because, and I know you appreciate this, and to our beautiful listeners as well. When you get a lot of followers, it makes your business so much easier because, when you got a lot of followers, you have so much business coming to you, and it's great. I used to be the ambulance chaser per se. I used to be the guy always chasing people for business. And now it's good being the other way around. It only took me a decade, but we got there in the end, Lauren.
It's the slow and steady wins the race. It's funny because as you know, Amir and I are partners at eXp Realty, and that's a cloud-based real estate company. And I've been building my tribe slowly but surely, just like I build my business. I've never been I guess I sprint around during the day to get things done, but sprinting in business you end up hitting walls. And I would rather go through a marathon than a sprint, and make sure that I'm covering everybody and giving them the attention they deserve, Ed, because you can't in 2 months on LinkedIn achieve what you've achieved in 10 years, right? It's just not possible. So tell us the difference, because this is something that I am actually working on literally right now, as you know. Tell us the difference between a follower and a connection on LinkedIn.
Oh, brilliant question. So, a connection is someone who you are literally linked to on LinkedIn. It's pretty much what LinkedIn's about. In a way, it's like being a friend on Facebook. You're directly connected to each other. You see each other's details. You see each other's content, and you can message each other. So it's basically being a friend on Facebook. You have that direct connection with someone. What a follower is someone who follows your content. So a follower may be a connection, a follower may not be a connection. You can have someone who's a connection that doesn't follow your content. You can have someone who's not a connection follow your content. So follower means they're just purely following your content, whether they're a connection or not.
So you're not necessarily following their content then, unless you follow them.
Unless you choose to. So the way it works on LinkedIn is if you connect with someone, you automatically start following each other's content,
Right.
unless someone chooses to unfollow.
Mhm.
Whereas quite often when someone follows you, they've either seen some of your content, they've liked, commented, and shared, or they've intentionally chosen to follow you.
So the beauty of followers is that there's no limit to the number. That's why you have almost 90,000 followers, whereas connections are limited to 30,000 on LinkedIn.
Yeah. So for example, I had a big problem actually about a year ago. I almost hit about 30,000 connections, and I just got rid of a lot of useless connections, basically people that just didn't talk to me, right? I got rid of a stack of connections. So right now I've always sat on about 29,000 connections because I'm always removing people and that sort of thing. And so I'm always adding people, removing people. So my followers are going through the roof, but my connections have actually held constant on about 29,000.
Yeah, that you have to, because otherwise you're done. Now, is there a way to change a connection to a follower or vice versa?
Ooh, so to change a connection to a follower, well, basically, if that person's following your content and then you choose to remove them as a connection, that might work. But when you remove people as connections, it's like breaking up with someone; they then hate you. So
That's right.
it's
Like when you unfriend them on Facebook and it's like, why did you
oh
unfriend me? Well, your
yeah,
politics are a little drastic for me. Sorry, I just would
yeah,
prefer not to see all of that every single day.
yeah,
So,
yeah. But it's like yeah, unfriending someone's like insulting their mother. Basically,
yeah, yeah, for sure.
that's what it'll do to your relationship with that person.
That's right. It's like without, especially without warning. So, you're in Australia and you're 14 hours ahead of us on the East Coast in the US and Canada, and 17 hours ahead of West Coast, right? Of LA. So how does that impact your business? Now, I was on a Zoom call with you this morning at 6 a.m. our time, 8 p.m. your time. And by the way, I'm going to beg you to please have a meeting in the in the morning your time someday. So it's easier for me. I'm much better to attend at night just because I have a kid. But in the meantime, like, how does that impact your business? That huge time difference, does it impact your business?
Yeah, absolutely. Because interestingly, over half of our revenue comes from outside of Australia. So we run as defined by the Australian government, we run an export business. Majority of our revenue comes from outside of Australia. And interestingly, on that one, Lauren, what I've found is that I've had to think globally. I've had to think
Yeah.
in a very global fashion. So when I put out an event, I'm not just thinking about my friends down the road. I'm thinking about my friends in Canada and Dubai and London and that sort of thing. So and you're never going to get it right. You're never going
No,
to, if you're running Zooms, for example, you might get half the world, but you're not going to get the other half the world. So you're
it's impossible.
forever, yeah, you're forever doing what you can, taking whatever shot you can get to hit as many people as possible. The biggest thing that I've learned is in answering all that is listening to your market. So I'm very, very big on listening to what people tell me. So for example, our Zoom events every Thursday, 8 p.m. Sydney time. They used to be every Thursday, 6 p.m. Sydney time, but all the feedback we
Oh,
got
that's
from
4 a.m. That's a problem for me. That's
yeah, exactly. And all the feedback was, Ed, this time is insane. Put it 2 hours later. And when I listened to the market mate 2 hours later, our attendance went up by 50%. So
yeah.
to me, it's about listening to your market because at the end of the day, your fans tell you where you're hitting the market, when you're missing the market. And same goes for content. If you're putting out content that's not very good, your fans are going to tell you either directly or by not engaging. But when you put out content they love, they'll hit that like and share, they'll tell you. And so to me, listening to your fans makes that international global business operation so much easier.
When did you first know that you were going to be doing this on a global scale?
Well, what happened to me, so I'm in Sydney, Australia, and I used to be very Sydney myopic. So my whole world was just
Really?
Sydney, right?
I find that
Yeah,
hard
I
to
used to be very,
believe because there are so
yeah,
many
me too.
accents on your calls. It's crazy. Yep.
Me too. Yeah. It's funny, only 2 years ago, I was very Sydney centric. I was very
Wow.
Sydney centric. And then what happened was I started getting all these clients interstate, like as in through other states, such as, Queensland, which is like our Florida, Victoria, which is, I suppose, like our Canada, it's freezing there. Anyway, so I started getting all these clients from
It's not freezing
that's
in
what,
Canada right now, just saying.
yeah,
It's funny, yesterday
freezing
I
for me.
was on a Zoom with Israel. And I'm often, I'm that's 7 hours. It's halfway between here and there. And
I
I
love
was
Israel.
holding, pardon me?
I
Sorry.
love Israel.
Me too. So I was
Love,
holding my little dog who's 15 pounds, and he's black and fuzzy. So the woman in Israel said to me, "Why are you wearing a scarf? Is it really cold where you are?" I said, "What are you talking about? I didn't." I said, "What are you talking about?" She goes, "Well, you have a Canadian flag," and she forgot I'm in Florida. And I said, "Well, that's my dog." And anyway, it's not cold where I'm from. I'm from Toronto. It's very warm there right now. It was just so funny because there's just this automatic assumption that Canada's always cold. And right now, some days in the summer, it's actually warmer than here in Florida. But that's an aside. It's
uh,
just, everybody, I think that the beauty of what you do is that it resonates with everybody. And you are such a empathetic, kind, generous entrepreneur, a true impact entrepreneur, if I do say so. And I've only known you for less than a month, although it does feel like much longer. You make everybody feel important, even those that don't generally get those kind of accolades. And I think that that's important because, people like us are used to people, rooting and saying, "Oh my gosh," and cheerleaders and, global impact and all of this. And it's wonderful. But then there are people that just don't have that opportunity and you give them that platform. And that's a big deal. And you do it
well,
from
thank
your
you.
heart. It's not like
Yeah.
there's not an ulterior motive. It's just natural, instinctive for you and Lassie, your lovely wife and business partner, to share that kindness and generosity and to help. I know you have many groups specifically for women and helping them get connected through LinkedIn internationally. What's the one called International Business Women?
Now, it's Lassie's International Boss Ladies Summit.
Boss ladies, that's, yeah, boss lady. So I did a vision board last week and had boss lady a few times on there. I don't think I want to be the boss. What do you think?
Oh, I think you're already a boss lady. You were a boss lady way before we met. So I think
Exactly.
you're a boss lady
That's
for a long time,
correct.
right?
You know me already. You see that? We haven't even met, but you know me. So tell us like your top 5 tips for people that are building a global presence on or trying to build a global presence on LinkedIn. The first one, by the way, is that I would suggest joining Ed's vault of information and being a part of his community because truly he really brings you up. He really elevates you and helps you to shine and helps you to be seen in the world, especially on LinkedIn. But tell us 5 tips if you would.
Well, that's a great tip. So yeah, joining our community and giving Edwards your money is a great place to
It's
start. So
always
give
great,
Edwards
and
your
I will share the link in the notes.
yeah, but no, but thank you in all seriousness. So tip number 1 is spend a lot of time on your LinkedIn profile. Like spend a day on it or whatever. Put in a really good photo. Spend a bit of time updating it. Like put in your previous job history, update all the detail, make sure it's perfect. Imagine you're going for a job and they're going to check out your LinkedIn. So get your LinkedIn perfect. That's tip 1. Spend a bit of time on your profile. Tip 2 is connect with everyone you know. You might have an old stack of business cards. You might connect with people from that you've worked with in the past. Connect with all the cool, wonderful people that you know. Step 2. Step number 3 is start sharing amazing content. You might just start by sharing other people's content and leaving comments. And you might actually work your way up to actually creating your own content. You might start using text only to type out tips. You might be ready to do some photos and videos, or what you might do is what we're doing. You might interview some of your friends over Zoom and upload the recording to LinkedIn. That's a great move. Tip number 4 is support your friends, because at the end of the day, the more you like, share, and comment other people's stuff is the more you're going to get back to help you take off. And then it brings me to tip number 5, and this is the most important one, is talk to people one-on-one. So when you get a connection, send them a voice message, say hello. And this is the point of LinkedIn. And this is in Microsoft, who owns LinkedIn, in Microsoft's own words. LinkedIn is a professional networking platform. So interestingly, if you speak to anyone from Microsoft and you call LinkedIn social media, they're a bit uncomfortable with that. They actually don't like it. If you speak to, they don't like LinkedIn being called social media because they don't see it that way. They see LinkedIn as a networking platform. And that's what I see it as. So actually, to me, LinkedIn's not social media. It has elements of social media, but it's actually a networking platform with social media functionality. That's the way Microsoft sees it. And that's the view that I've come to really adopt over time.
Yeah, I think that that's very true. And it is definitely a different type of engagement as a result. And you don't want to be sending pictures of your kids. I mean, unless you get to that point, that's just not the appropriate way to undertake engagement. And I think that there's a special type of engagement because it is a biz to biz platform, whether it's called social media or it's not, it is a platform. And the most important thing that I found is engagement is the key. You can have 30,000 or 29,800 connections and do no business, or you can have 6,000 connections and do a ton of business. The difference is engagement. So if you can't do it yourself, hire a VA. And also, as Ed has taught me, and as I've learned, because I've been doing LinkedIn for a long time, and I will tell you that I've spent tens of thousands of dollars, and I'm not kidding. Probably over time, I've spent at least 15 or more, probably $20,000, okay, on LinkedIn. And I've been on there a long time and I have a lot of connections, but that does not mean that I always have had the type of engagement. One thing that I noticed, and we can talk about this a little, is you'll put a post and I get lots of views, but until I joined Ed's community, and this is the truth, I barely had any comments. So I would get these notifications saying, you've had 387 views. How do you engage them to comment? So I would put these posts up and people were interested, but they wouldn't be engaging. And so it's really important that you are part of a community that's going to bring you up. And, you know, even if they comment and say great news, whatever the case is, it's an engagement and it brings you up in the rankings and it gives you an opportunity to engage back. Right?
Oh, absolutely. And just adding to that as well, one of the biggest things, and I couldn't agree with you more, well said, Lauren, one of the things I've learned as well is when you do videos on LinkedIn and you say very interesting points, that gets a lot of engagement. So find video, and when let's say you do a quick 2, 3, 4 minute video on LinkedIn and you might give some tips, that gets a lot of engagement. So I think if someone sees a photo, it's more like you just like and comment. There's not a lot to do with a photo. But if you're doing a video giving some profound ideas, you're giving people more opportunities to engage with you. And another thing that also gets a lot of engagement as well are polls. I've been doing a lot of polls lately, and polls are crazy. Like I did a poll last night, it got 7,000 views, and it was a pretty average poll. Wow. I did a really good poll 4 days ago, and it got like 28,000 views. So polls as well forces people to engage with you. The whole point of a poll is people have to engage, they have to vote. And I think what makes polls so interesting is that, and this is the way I am, people don't know the results. When they vote, they then see what everyone else is thinking. So there's a bit of curiosity there. You might see a poll and you want to vote on it because you want to see what everyone else is thinking. So I think there's a lot of really cool, engaging viral tricks that Microsoft and LinkedIn has used there to make as engaging as possible. So my advice to everyone is more videos, more polls, and that'll help drive better comments and better interaction and ultimately get you in front of the right people on the LinkedIn platform.
Yeah, agreed. Would you say now, I know that your main focal points are Canada, US, and Australia. You're also, I'm sure, getting clients from the UK and other Anglo countries.
UK, Dubai, Australia.
Right.
Quite a lot from Dubai, actually. Yeah, so Dubai, so pretty much everywhere. It's we've got clients all over the place now. And it's incredible. It's just incredible because I think in what we do is we don't attract people from a certain part of the world. We attract a type of person that can exist anywhere, at any
Right.
place and time.
Right. And how has the pandemic impacted this for you?
For us, and I say this with respect to all those affected by the pandemic negatively, the pandemic was a moment of triumph. So like talking 2020, pre the original global lockdowns, Lassie and I we had a small following, but we weren't that well known. At the end of lockdown, we basically tripled our follower base. So I think
Wow.
start of lockdown, Lassie and I were like 20, 30,000 followers. End of lockdown, we're like, business page was like 80,000. My page was 60,000. So for us, it was our moment of triumph because when lockdown began, it forced me to get really good at my content. And I did. I really focused on my content. And then we just both took off. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
been life changing. For us, pandemic actually helps grow our business. And again, I say that with respect to anyone who's been
Right, of
negatively
course.
affected. Yeah.
I think that part of
domesticate horses around 4000 BC.
that was Alexa. I don't know what she was talking about, but I think maybe they thought you said Alexa instead of Lassie. We have to be so careful what we
Yeah.
say, who we're talking to. So
Yeah.
4000
Google-
BC, I don't know what that is, but anyway.
Google's listening in.
Pardon?
Google's listening. No, it's Alexa's
Exactly.
Google, right? It's Google. There you go.
I was going to say that that I think that part of that, or I know that part of that is because everybody is now able to join you on Zoom, and everybody is able to join your tribe. It's not, and it's the world has become smaller because Zoom is now the norm. Before it was very much the exception. I mean, I'm Zoomed out every single day. My aching eyes, I had LASIK and I keep saying, I think that right, exactly. So, but I wouldn't trade this opportunity to really create strong relationships, and relationship capital is your definitely number one asset, right? I think it's everybody's number one asset, except for those that are true hermits. And I've become a hermit in a little bit of a sense because I'm home much more, and I used to be out a lot. But now we can do all of this electronically. I can speak at events all over the world, and I don't have to leave my home or worry about having coverage for my kids. So it makes life easier and more challenging in some ways, because we definitely need that belly to belly. And
Absolutely.
yeah, all of us need that. Ed, how do people, pardon me?
I was going to say, you make a good point on that one. So, for example, I'm all with you on that one. And using Meetup, we actually run a lot of face-to-face meetups across Australia. So I'm tomorrow morning, like it's 11 p.m. our time. In 5 hours, I wake up and I'm off to the airport to fly interstate to help Amir run a meetup. So
and is it going to be a hybrid, or it's just live? In other words, you're not doing it online, are you?
Face-to-face, belly-to-belly only. So if you're not there, you're going to miss out.
Well, I don't think I'm going to make it. Even if I left this minute, I wouldn't make it anyway, because it's a little too much traveling. I think it's 24 hours to get there, right?
Yeah. So for me, it's a 2-hour flight tomorrow. Right, so after we finish our Zoom, I'm going to run home, brush my teeth, dive in bed, get up 5 hours later and off to the airport and go kick some ass. So it's going to be funny.
Well, I super appreciate your time and making the time for me. It's such a pleasure getting to know you, being part of your world. And I'm looking forward to working with a lot of people in your tribe that are looking to expand their businesses across borders. Please give us your last parting words and how people can connect with you.
You're the best. Well, firstly, the thing I want to say is please connect with Lauren. If you're not following Lauren, please connect with her. Lauren is integrity to the max. If you want to connect with me, best way to do it is add me on LinkedIn. And when you hit the connect key, don't just hit the connect key. Say, hey, Ed, I was listening to you on Lauren Cohen's podcast, and connect with me that way. And just some parting words as well is, LinkedIn, great platform. It's owned by Microsoft, and the mission of LinkedIn, and I love the mission of LinkedIn, is to create global opportunities for everyone. And that's what LinkedIn does. So it doesn't matter where you are in the world. If you're on LinkedIn, if you've got a decent phone and internet connection, you're connected to the world. And then it's up to you what you want to do.
The world is truly your oyster, especially these days. I thank you again. I'm Lauren Cohen, international legal and real estate expert, here with my friend Ed Zia, whom I will eventually meet in person one day when I am either in Australia, which will happen, or when Ed is here in the US or in Canada, where we can definitely meet, please God. Lauren Cohen, Investing Across Borders. Please subscribe to my podcast on Apple, Google, Spotify, wherever you so choose. I look forward to connecting with you. If you are interested in exploring opportunities so that you can invest, live, work, and play across borders, and make sure that you do it legally and with the right and proper counsel every step of the way, we are a one-stop shop and we would love to work with you. I'm signing off for today with Ed Zia, and I thank you for joining us. It's been a pleasure as always, Ed. Thank you. Ciao, ciao.